carving out her reputation as a powerhouse frontwoman and background vocalist in the Toronto music scene. She joined seven-piece retro funk ensemble ckua as her lead singer on full-length album releases from The Ancients and Dreamscape to critical acclaim. Who am I talking about? None other than Claire Davis. Her debut LP, Get It Right, is a 10-track album featuring some of Toronto's top-flight musicians and consists of some of Claire's most personal writing to date. Drawing from the reflective nature of the pandemic, her compositions and lyrics examine themes of self-worth, relationships, and family dynamics. Help me welcome Claire Davis. Hi, Claire. It's great to chat with you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Dawn. It's my pleasure.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Seriously, I am totally fangirling right now. And I'm just a huge fan. I have so much respect for what you do. And, you know, as an artist, I know that kind of bringing together an existence of survival means that you have to do a lot of different things. And sometimes it means putting your own projects on the back burner. What is it like to finally release your own album?
It's been a really amazing kind of transformative experience. I think, my time working with Yuka was so fun and such a joy to just collaborate with so many amazing musicians. And I was probably with them for about 5 or 6 years. And I just sort of felt the need to develop my own project just to get a little deeper into my own self-expression of things that I was going through and just kind of develop my own sound a little bit more. So I've actually found that, as hard as it is and as many hats as you have to wear as an independent artist, as you know, it's really rewarding to just really invest in yourself. I've just been seeing a lot of the benefits of putting in the work for me.
I love that. Investing in yourself. Wow, that's I need to write that down. What are some of the benefits or what are some of the things that you have seen as a result of that?
I think just my confidence has grown a lot and just sort of seeing, how much I'm truly capable of as an artist. Because I think when you're in a band or a collective and you're kind of all putting input and all trying to kind of support this one thing, you can kind of like lean on people a little bit more. But like when you have to do it yourself, you can sort of like see your own strength in that, I guess. So cool.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. As you've been sort of going down this road, what are some of the artists and vocalists that have sort of filled up your cup?
Ooh, I would say the biggest one for me has to be Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. I saw them for the first time, I think, when I was 17. My high school music teacher gave me tickets, just being like, I think you'd like her. They're from Brooklyn. You should check them out. I had no idea prior who they were. And they played at a small little club in Victoria called Central Bar and Grill, which no longer exists. And like, it was a club that I sang at a lot in high school. So it's like, that's how small it was. And I, started the night sitting down, just ready to like enjoy this show. And like everybody in the place was just on their feet, like in no time. Like her command of a stage was just insane. And, she's this little like 5 foot tall dynamo. Like I was just floored. And I just remember seeing her and be like, that's what I want to do. I was never been more inspired in my life than when I watched her on stage. So subsequently watched her another dozen times or more, anytime she was in town, whatever city I was living in. So yeah, I think like the whole Daptone record label and like everything they do has been really inspirational for me, like all the artists they've worked with and just like the sound that they have, the analog recording process, which is something that I've adopted for myself that I really love. So yeah, I have to give props to her.
Yeah, that's incredible. And props and kudos to your teacher, your music teacher who like recognized something special and beautiful inside of you. And they were like, okay, you need to go see this band. Like, That's incredible. I love teachers for that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What was your first musical memory?
My first musical memory. I guess like my dad always played the piano for my sister and I when we were growing up.
Hmm.
So he would just kind of play songs to make us dance. He'd just kind of like make up some things. So I just sort of remember that my dad passed away a few years ago, but he was a musician as well. So
Mm,
kind of my biggest uh, sort of first connection to music, I think. And he sort of gave it up. Like he was into music when he was a teenager and then sort of got convinced that, like you have to get a real job and go into the trades. So he took on carpentry. And then when I started getting into music in high school, it sort of inspired him to go back into like jamming, doing jam nights with his friends and stuff. He was living in Nelson at the time. So yeah, I think that's kind of like my my journey with that.
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's so great. In terms of the album, what's next for you? What's happening next?
Um, I ideally would really love to tour in the UK and Europe. That's kind of where my mindset is really
Yes.
building on kind of the connection that I have there with my label LRK Records, who's based in the UK. It's been really amazing to see just sort of the reaction that my music's been able to get out there, just unexpectedly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard in Canada. We don't really have, Dawn,
I know. I know. Yeah.
it's really tough for soul R&B music to kind of like get any footing in Canada. And Canada is also huge and expensive to tour.
Yes.
And the audiences elsewhere are just built different. Like I don't know if it's the same. I haven't spent a ton of time like really playing in Vancouver, so I don't know if like that's kind of the vibe out there too. But certainly in Toronto, like there's a thing called the that I call the Toronto gap, which is like the gap between the stage and the audience that like everyone
Yes.
they're like too polite. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, guys, get into it. So that's kind of my thing and why I hope to venture out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I think I just get bossy and tell people to move forward. I'm
Mhm.
like, "Come on. Let's close this gap." Cuz yeah, it's real, and the physical gap then becomes this like mental thing. And I think it has to do a little bit with our British roots of politeness, like, you know, early British roots. But yeah, I know that wherever you end up in the UK and Europe, they are going to devour you and fall in love with you, just as I have fallen in love with you, and everyone here at ckua has fallen in love with you. And I have to thank Carrie Clark, who's one of our announcers and hosts, who she was spinning some yucca, and I was like, "Who is this? Like, who is this?" She's like, "Oh, this band yucca," and I'm like, "Well, obviously they're not from. They're from like the States, or they're from Europe." And she's like, "No, they're from Toronto." I was like, "What?" And then I'm looking down the list of names. I'm like, "Oh, I know some of these people," and so it was just so exciting to know that there was like this high level of great musicianship and songwriting and production coming out of Canada. And yeah, I mean, you're making us look real good, Claire.
Oh,
Real good.
thank you.
I would love to play a track from Get It Right. Can you pick one and tell our audience, our listeners, a little bit about it?
Ooh, I guess I'm gonna pick Good for You because that was one that you know, truthfully, and I don't mean to brag, but I had a hard time picking singles because I genuinely
Mm-hmm.
really liked a lot of songs on the record, which is a good, amazing place to be in.
Yes, yeah.
So Good for You was one that I was almost gonna make a single, and then decided not to for whatever reason. But it's a song that I really love.
Amazing. Okay. Love it. From her latest, newest, shiniest LP, Get It Right. This is Claire Davis and Good For You.